Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
And they had the most original cheer, the California.
It was awful.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I do.
Do you want to say it?
California, California, California. Now, but Eastern Michigan University had the best cheer.
Theirs was go, emu, go, emu, emu.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip, so today we're going to do our favorite Blue Rodeo songs. But before we get to that, full disclosure, we are recording on a Saturday morning, but not just any Saturday morning. Later tonight is the Final Four. That is the NCAA College Basketball Championship. For those who don't know what the Final Four is, our favorite team, the Duke Blue Devils, is playing against our most hated team, the North Carolina Tar Heels. So again, for people out there who are not familiar with the rivalry, these teams have faced each other hundreds of times, but they've never faced each other in the tournament. So this is kind of a big deal. I know that I'm going to be watching tonight. I assume that you're going to be watching tonight. And I know that you've been on pins and needles all week about this.
I mean, when we knew that they were playing North Carolina, when the matchup was decided, I mean, it was kind of obvious, but like last Sunday, I was wondering how I was going to function this week. Like, I wasn't sure what was going to happen to me. Like, literally the whole week, all I was thinking about is getting to that game tonight. And how am I going to fill all the time in between, you know? Because everything else didn't seem really that important.
I agree. And I've been listening to a bunch of different podcasts talking about this game, different analysts weighing in on who they think is the better team and what they think is going to happen. But you know as well as I do, and it's the same thing like when the Montreal Canadiens play against the Toronto Maple Leafs, or I don't know, the Chicago Bears play against the Green Bay Packers, and the Celtics play against the Lakers. Like, even if one team is much better than the other in that particular season, all the stats are out the window when they play each other.
Yeah, it's more scary. Like you look at it. I don't want to get into too much details about the game. I mean, we're not doing a college basketball podcast. We did that last time, but you know, it's a 2 versus 8. You figure Duke's favored. They are favored by 4 points. But that's all out the window. When Duke plays North Carolina, anything could happen. Now, you mentioned that we've played hundreds of times. I read the stat last night. In the Coach K era, this will be the 100th game that Coach K has faced North Carolina. And the record in those previous 99 games is 50 wins and 49 losses. So that tells you like how evenly matched in the Coach K era, which is what, 35, 40 years? Like that's what it is, right? I mean,
I don't have the stat in front of me, but I saw somewhere total points scored by both teams against each other in the history of them ever playing against each other, and the difference is like 6.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So I'm scared. I'm scared of the game tonight. I'm nervous about it. I'm excited about it, but I mean, we'll talk about it next episode, and thank God we'll have 2 weeks in between the result of this and then the result of the championship to sort of decompress. Good or bad, you know, like hopefully good, but you know, we're prepared for anything.
So I know that we have some listener mail to get to from our last episode, but before we get to that, I do have to mention this one little short story that I read online the other day. So there's a baseball player on the Toronto Blue Jays. He happens to be Canadian. His name is Jordan Romano. You've probably never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
But here was the story that I read. Jordan Romano will be sidelined after suffering a mild left ankle sprain after slipping while walking his dog.
You love those stories.
Because this happens to baseball players all the time. Like, how many have we talked about on this show?
But it's only baseball players that get into these stupid injuries.
Exactly.
You don't hear this about other things.
No, you don't. You don't. Only baseball players. This could only happen to baseball players.
So basically, this guy, Jordan Romano, like once spring training starts, like he should just wrap himself in bubble wrap and sit on the couch when he's not like playing or practicing. He shouldn't do anything.
That's right. And I mean, these guys are usually paid enough money to hire people to do stuff for them, like take out the garbage or go buy their groceries or shovel their snow or whatever. Like, they shouldn't have to do any of the stuff themselves.
So ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Anyway.
All right, so the mailbag.
Yes.
Mailbag.
Very short mailbag.
Well, you did tell me about one message that you received.
So we actually, every episode I post on Twitter about like with the links to the episode and what it's about. And we got a like and then even a comment from David Barrett, the composer and singer of the song One Shining Moment. He liked our tweet and he commented saying so many great memories. So I don't know if he listened to the podcast. I don't think he did. I just think he saw the tweet and it had One Shining Moment in the description. So that's how he found it. But anyways, you didn't even want to believe me that it was true when I told you. So that's one mail. And then actually another interaction on Twitter, friend of the show, Neil Schnurback, also liked the tweet and said, "Hey, I miss coming on doing the March Madness previews."
Well, it's not that we didn't invite you, it's that we never did one. So don't worry about it, Neil.
Yeah. And then, friend of Mark from Philadelphia sent me this link about nostalgia about the Leitner shot versus Kentucky, because that shot actually took place in the Philadelphia Spectrum. So he sent me an interesting article from one of the Philly newspapers about the shot and the whole Philly connection to it, and it's pretty cool.
Very nice. Excellent.
I have a perfect segue into Blue Rodeo, Josh.
Great. I don't know.
So,
we were just talking about Philadelphia and Christian Leitner. I don't know what that has to do with Blue Rodeo, but go ahead.
No, but it's connected to the mailbag. So, usually our buddy Jesse emails, with his top whatever we're talking about. This is Jesse Jackson from Texas, who does the Set Lusting Bruce Springsteen podcast. So he didn't message about March Madness, probably not really that into it, but it's probably about a month ago, he tagged me, our account on Twitter, saying, because he does another podcast called How Many, where they just talk about random stuff. I can't really explain it, but you should check it out. There's a lot of fun episodes there. And they said they were about to sit down and record an episode about their favorite Canadian artists or bands. And then they said, at Skip and Josh, what are your thoughts? So, of course, I wrote back right away saying any list of Canadian music needs to start with The Tragically Hip and Blue Rodeo. That's 1-2. And then after that, we can talk about it. And then I tweeted again saying, of course, there's like Joni Mitchell, Neil Young. Like there's classic Canadian artists, that you don't want to leave off of the lists here. But the Twitter thread continued, and I think someone else had chimed in about Blue Rodeo, and then he said he was going to really check out Blue Rodeo. It was very interesting to him, and I promised him that we would do an episode soon with our favorite Blue Rodeo songs, which is what we're going to do today.
That's excellent. That's perfect. And I think, knowing the little that I know of Jesse, I think he will enjoy listening to Blue Rodeo music. Well,
I mean, I think he is a fan of like the country rock genre, and that's where we are here with Blue Rodeo. That's them in a nutshell. Like, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna read tell people who Blue Rodeo are, straight off of Wikipedia. Blue Rodeo is a Canadian country rock band formed in 1984 in Toronto. They have released 16 studio albums, Josh, and 4 live recordings and 1 greatest hits album. 16 albums. That's like a crazy good catalog. There's 3 members of the band that have been with them since the beginning. Jim Cuddy, Greg Keelor. You're going to hear us talk about Cuddy and Keelor during this whole top 7 that we're about to do. And then Basil Donovan has also been the bass player since the beginning. They've gone through a bunch of keyboard players, a bunch of drummers. We may talk about that at one point. But I mean, that's Blue Rodeo. They're an iconic Canadian country rock band.
Now I'm going to add one little thing that you may not be aware of.
Yeah.
So when we decided to do this topic, I didn't know this, but Blue Rodeo is currently touring in Canada.
They're playing in Montreal on this Wednesday, April 6th, at Place des Arts, Salle Wilfrid Pelletier.
Right, and they're playing in Toronto this Monday and Tuesday, April 4th and 5th. Now, depending on when you're listening to this, who knows when you're listening to this, the concert may have already happened. But the point is, they're on tour, and I didn't even know that.
I think they were supposed to go on tour. I mean, they like, just like we said, they've had 16 studio albums. They've been on tour since the 80s, right? They never stopped, right?
This is true.
We always like to talk about the thought process behind your list. Like, how hard was this list for you? How easy was it? I mean, I don't think you're a huge Blue Rodeo fan. I think you're a fan. But like, was your making your list complicated or?
I mean, getting 7 songs was not complicated at all. I think you'll find that all 7 of my songs are, hits that everyone knows. I don't have any hidden gems or anything like that. Ranking them was not the easiest thing to do. And in fact, even now, I ranked them last night. And when I went to bed, I'm like, maybe I should change that a little bit.
It's funny. I have sort of the same struggle. I came up with 15 songs right away, like easily. And then narrowing it down to 7 was hard. And then narrowing it down, the order was really hard. Like that was like really quite a bit of a struggle. But like I told you, we had a conversation on the phone last night and I said, because what I do is I just put all my Blue Rodeo songs on my phone in a playlist and I just listen to them over and over while I'm working. And then at one point, there's so many songs that like they just one blends into the next, and I didn't even know what song was playing. Like especially like the Jim Cuddy ballads, they're all sort of the same. But
no, I know what you mean, and even some of the titles of some of the songs sound very similar.
I guess it's my topic, so I'll go first if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Number 7.
All right, we're going to start strong with number 7. It's the first song that I ever heard by Blue Rodeo.
Oh, I think I can guess, but go ahead.
And that is Diamond Mine.
So that wasn't going to be my guess.
It's actually from their second album called Diamond Mine, which came out in 89. But that's the first song I ever heard by them. And then obviously I went back and found their debut album later. I actually saw them on tour, on the Diamond Mine tour in 89. They played the Spectrum here in Montreal. Diamond Mine. What are you going to say about Diamond Mine? The album version's 8 minutes long because there's this crazy rambling keyboard solo like in the middle. But there was like a nice 3-minute radio version that they used to play, which was like, I liked it. I actually prefer it now because the whole keyboard solo in the middle is very distracting. It's the first song, it's the first song I ever heard. It's a song that sort of made me take notice and fall in love with them. Greg Keelor sings this one completely. Like for those of you who don't know Blue Rodeo and people who do, like Jim Cuddy has like the voice of an angel and Greg Keelor has like this really scratchy voice, right? So like there's a big contrast between the songs that Keelor sings and the songs that Cuddy sings. But Keelor's vocals in this song are absolutely incredible. Like it's very, very powerful the way he sings it.
When I look into your eyes, when our love shines, yeah, our love shines, yeah, our love shines like a diamond.
Okay, well, number 7 for me is Rain Down on Me from Lost Together. That album was released in 1992, and it was the 4th Blue Rodeo album. I don't really have much to say other than I really like the song, and actually, originally, this song didn't even make it on my top 7, but then as I was doing my research last night, I stumbled upon it, completely forgot about this song, and I said, oh, well, this has to be in my list.
Yeah, it's a very, very good song. But like I said, the Cuddy ballads are very like you can't tell it. They all blend in together in my mind. And Rain Down on Me is a great song. It didn't make my list. I'll tell you, it's in my honorable mentions. It made my original 15, but whatever.
Number 6.
So number 6, I'm gonna go with the other Jim Cuddy song about rain, and that's After the Rain, and that's from the 1990 album Casino. It's their 3rd album.
I know I'm to blame. It's so shame. Call out your name. Oh, after the rain.
Cuddy's vocals on this are out of this world. Like his singing is just like, it's absolutely incredible. If the number one song on my list, which you probably know what it is, if that song didn't exist, then this would be the greatest Jim Cuddy vocal, but it's not, because he has better, so it's a tremendous song. Again, it's like they have so many songs that seem to be like the same theme, which is like, I don't want to say breakups, but like relationships that didn't work and then moving on after relationships that didn't work. That seems to be like a common theme. So anyways, that's After the Rain.
Okay. Number 6 for me is from their first album, Outskirts, and it's the song Try.
Don't tell me I'm wrong, 'cause I've been watching every move that you make. Aren't you still in your makeup and heels? Trouble for the man that you take. Every time you walk in the room.
So this was probably the first song I ever heard by Blue Rodeo, because it was on their first album. And it's actually the only song from this album that made it onto my list.
Okay, that's really funny because, okay, Try is on my list. I mean, I don't have to give you spoilers. You probably know where it's going to be. But when I listen to all the songs that are on my phone from the Blue Rodeo, like, I have songs from like 7 albums, I think, which is pretty amazing for any artist to have that many different albums. But I have the most songs from Outskirts. Like, that's actually my favorite album, which is pretty interesting, like the contrast there.
Yes.
Number 5.
This is called 5 Days in May. Number 5, 5 Days in May. I had to put it number 5.
Perfect.
How will you ever know the way that circumstances go? Always gonna hit you by surprise. But I know my past, you're there. Everything I've done, you are the one.
It's from the 1994 album, actually, called 5 Days in July, which I always thought was weird because the album was called 5 Days in July, but like the big hit from the album was 5 Days in May. It's like, how did they figure this out? But it's a tremendous song. It's like, again, one of these like boy meets girl stories. It's more of a story song than I think a lot of the others. Again, another long song. It's like a 7-minute song. 5 Days in May is an interesting album, Josh. I looked up research about it. They recorded it at Greg Keeler's farm, and the songs, it was just supposed to be like demos. They were just playing around, and then it turned into an album. And it's like actually one of their most popular albums, I think, that 5 Days in July. So
Okay, well, I'll talk about that album later on, but
mhm.
number 5 for me is the song Lost Together from the album Lost Together, which was released in 1992. So a couple of things about, one thing about this song. So I didn't know this until doing my research yesterday, but a few months into the pandemic, CBC Music organized a great Canadian sing-along of this song, with a few hundred Canadians submitting videos of themselves singing the song in their own homes. And they compiled all these videos that they received together, and it's now posted on the CBC website. You can go watch the video and listen to the song, and Greg Keeler and Jim Cuddy are in it as well. So it's pretty cool.
I was going to mention the same thing when I get to this song later on. I mean, Lost Together. Gorgeous. What a gorgeous song. What a great choice, Josh.
It was interesting because before they decided to do this, before CBC Music decided to do this, they put out a poll. which Canadian song do all of you want to sing? Like they could have picked any song by any artist, and this was the song that was picked.
But it's sort of fitting. I mean, the song Lost Together is more of a love song, but I mean, it is fitting. Like as a country, we're all lost together trying to get through this pandemic together, you know?
Right.
So I could see the logic there. That was good.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me is also from the 5 Days in July album, and that is the song Bad Timing. This is like you mentioned, like as I hadn't considered this song for my list, but as I was listening to Blue Rodeo this whole week, and every time this song came on, I was like, wow, how come I don't listen to this song more? You know, like why isn't this like in my Blue Rodeo, like main Blue Rodeo listening? You know, so like I said before, there's like the Jim Cuddy songs and there's the Greg Keeler songs. This is like both, but like they have these beautiful harmonies together in this song together, which is great. We did an episode last year about our favorite song lyrics, and I mentioned to you that we should do like a part 2 of that theme, because there's so many song lyrics, and there's some great lyrics in this song, you know, include like, I'm going to read it to you. We each forgive a little bit and we both look back on it, that time in that song. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but I just find it very beautiful.
And maybe soon there'll come a day when no more tears will fall. We each forgive a little bit, and we both look back on it. It's just that time in that song.
Nice. Very nice. So number 4 for me is Hasn't Hit Me Yet. And this is from the aforementioned 5 Days in July, which was released in 1993. And you alluded to this, but I didn't know this. That album is their most commercially successful album. It has been certified 6 times platinum.
Yeah, well, it's because of the song 5 Days in May, and mostly It Hasn't Hit Me Yet. That's like a huge hit for them, right? And I know you love the songs that you instantly recognize on the first note or two, and this song, Hasn't Hit Me Yet, definitely has that little twang at the beginning that you're like, oh, it's Blue Rodeo.
Yep, exactly.
Say that you're leaving, well, that comes as no surprise.
Number 3.
So number 3 for me, I'm going back to the debut album Outskirts from 87. And that is the song Rose Colored Glasses. I don't know how familiar you are with this song, but
I am familiar with it. It didn't make my list, but I am familiar with it.
I was happy to see that it actually made it to their greatest hits album. So I'm obviously not the only person that really has a real fondness for this song. I never really back in the 80s and 90s, I didn't really listen to it that much, but then we saw them. Did you go with me to see Blue Rodeo ever at Bourbon Street North?
I think I did, because that's, I think, the only time I ever saw them. So I must have been with you.
I know I saw them at least twice there. So they played it once at one of those concerts, and I was like, wow, this song is absolutely amazing. It's like when a live version of the song sort of makes you take notice, you know? And then after that, you know, it's number 3, and it's only number 3 because I felt like number 2 and 1 on my list are so strong, you know, so.
Where does she get off? Tell her maid I love you. Save a song. Save a song. And it's day after day I keep hanging around. Can you tell me why? Night after night, yeah, I know I should leave, but something in those eyes.
Very good. So number 3 for me is How Long? And this is from the album Diamond Mine, which was released in 1989. This was their second album. And in 1989, so for folks who don't live in Canada, there's this rule on Canadian radio called Canadian content, where radio stations need to play a certain percentage of their music has to be by Canadian artists. And for short, we call it CanCon. So there are CanCon rankings every year for the best CanCon album in the country. And this was the second best selling CanCon album in 1989. Also interesting about this has nothing to do with the song, but you know, when you do research on the internet, sometimes you can't trust the things you read on the internet because depending on
sometimes.
Well, when you Google Blue Rodeo, a lot of different things come up. You can go to the Blue Rodeo website, just as, you know, most artists have their own website, or you can go to Wikipedia, which, you know, Wikipedia is not an authorized biography, so to speak.
Right.
But it's very interesting because Diamond Mine was released in 1989, and according to Wikipedia, Diamond Mine was released in 1989. But when I went to the Blue Rodeo website and I clicked on that album, it says 1999. So there's actually a mistake on the Blue Rodeo website.
Well, we know it's when it's true. Like, yeah.
No, I know we know, but I mean, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's so weird.
You'd think Blue Rodeo would have noticed that and made the correction.
Some things cost too much, even when they're free. Even when they're free. How long will it take till you open up your eyes? I've been gone for years, you never even realized how long.
Number 2.
All right, so number 2 for me, you already mentioned the song, and that's Lost Together. You stole my thunder about the Great Canadian Sing-Along. I had stumbled upon that in my research, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. This is the ultimate love song. And it's Keylor and Cuddy at their best, both singing, you know, like, it's just a really beautiful song. And like with like, you know, I'm a sucker for the lyrics, you know, it's strange and beautiful are the stars tonight. I mean, that's how it starts. And it just continues and goes from there. It's such an amazing, amazing song.
Strange and beautiful are the stars tonight that dance around your head. In your eyes I see that perfect world. I hope that doesn't sound too weird. And I want all the world to know that your love's all I need, all that I need.
Now, number 2 for me is from 1990. The album is Casino, and the song is Till I Am Myself Again. Now, this was their third album, and I'm going to mention some CanCon stats. It was the 9th best-selling CanCon album in Canada in 1990, which doesn't sound really good, but the interesting thing is it only came out in December, so it really only had a month, and even then, it was 9th.
Well, I wanna go. I know I can't stay, but I don't wanna run feeling this way. Till I am myself, till I am myself, till I am myself again.
It was really highly anticipated, that album, because like you said, Outskirts, the first album, was like, fans liked it, but it didn't sell that much. And then Diamond Mine really like put them on the map as a strong Canadian band. And then everyone was anticipating like, what's the next album going to be? And then Casino was really, really strong as well.
Number 1.
All right, we're at number 1. We went through this list really quick.
Yeah, because I like these songs. I don't really have a lot to tell you about them. I just like them.
I agree. So you know what my number 1 is? It's Try, right? I mentioned this song before. I mentioned this on when we talked about our favorite Canadian bands, our favorite albums of the 80s. Like, that's the song I think about when I think about Blue Rodeo. It's from their debut album. And this is Jim Cuddy just singing the hell out of a song. Like when you listen to this song, like his voice is just like could melt your phone when you listen to it. It's like it's unreal. Like how his voice is just absolutely incredible. And you know my golden rule of songs, Josh. Like I don't know what this song is actually about. I mean, it's about a girl, but like I don't really know for sure what it's about. I don't really want to know. Like I never want to know what it's about. I don't want anything to ruin like just how fantastic the song is in my own mind, you know. So
Every time you walk in the room, I couldn't ever be sure of a smile. You were never the same way twice. I'm falling in love, oh, night after night. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, you got to try.
I'm with you. I don't usually find out what songs are about. If I like the song, I'll sing along to it and I'll learn the lyrics. But, ask me to tell you what it's about. I usually have no idea.
right. All right. So what's your number one?
So my number one, and I don't think this was on your list at all, which I guess I'm a bit surprised, but it's also from Casino and it's Trust Yourself.
Now you'll have to run and not get caught. Then you'll have to hide if you like it or not. Then you'll have to trust yourself and don't believe in any more lies.
I love this song. I mean, again, I don't have much to tell you about it other than I just love this song.
It didn't even make my second tier actually. That's pretty funny. I should go back. I mean, obviously I know the song, but I should go back and listen to it like more. Well, it's not a surprise that it's your number one. It's a much more of a rockin' song than
Yes.
a lot of the others, right?
Correct.
So those are the kinds that you tend to gravitate towards.
That's right. In fact, I think 5 of my 7 are more, upbeat songs.
Right. All right. Well, that's amazing. Like it's absolutely incredible because actually both of our lists are mostly from like the first 5 albums. Or
Correct.
6, whatever, right?
Correct.
And I went back and looked at like, I mean, they came out with an album like last year.
I know. I didn't even know that till yesterday.
And they've like we said, they've have 16 albums and they've released albums continuously since the 80s. And I'm just not as familiar with the new material. I'm just not. Part of it is that it doesn't get radio play. Second of all, I don't listen to the radio, even if it did get radio play.
Right.
So you gotta have to find it. But I did sort of give myself like my wife says, I gave myself a sub job. I'm gonna try to listen to like the last few albums in their entirety. To really get a feel for them. Maybe I'll find some hidden gems there that I didn't know about.
The Skip and Josh podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. To interact with the show, send an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Follow the show on Twitter and go to Facebook to like the show page. And now for some final thoughts from the guys.
So yesterday you mentioned to me that you had some nuggets for me. I don't know what those nuggets are.
Well, I
but,
already mentioned all of them.
Oh, those are already done. It was the crazy sports injuries, Duke, like that's it, right?
And also about the mistake on the Blue Rodeo website.
Right. Okay. So those are good nuggets. I'm very happy. So I have a whole bunch of stuff for the end if you like indulge me, but
Yeah, I have a few things too, but go ahead.
well, first of all, I want to congratulate the Canadian men's national soccer team.
Oh, that's right.
Who qualified for the World Cup. As the listeners know, me and you, Josh, attended the game against Panama. I believe it was back in October. And like that was just absolutely an incredible sporting experience. And then we've watched all the games on TV and followed like the qualification. We even watched, I know you watched the World Cup draw yesterday, like probably the first time in your life you've ever done that. So I don't want to go into we'll talk about the World Cup when we get to the World Cup in November, but I just want to congratulate the team because what a fantastic achievement, actually qualifying since the first time since '86. I also want to shout myself out, Josh. I want to give myself a pat on the back because when we did our best of the year back in the end of December, our favorites of everything, I told you my favorite movie was Coda, which is a movie on Apple TV.
Yeah.
It's CODA stands for a child of deaf adult. And Coda actually won the Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Very nice. So after you mentioned it, I went to look to see if I could watch that movie, but since I'm not subscribed to Apple, there's no way I can watch it. So sucks for me.
I'll try to figure a way for you to get it, maybe. It's really worth watching. It's a really wonderful movie. So I have a what bugs me. It really angered me yesterday.
Things that bug me?
Okay, you're allowed.
Yesterday was April Fool's, right?
Yes.
So people are posting stuff on social media, tricking people. Sportsnet even posted, that the Quebec Nordiques are coming back. LeBron James posted that he's injured for the rest of the season. PTI did a whole gag about Coach K. Like, there's all these things, right?
Yeah.
So it's so annoying. Like, there's so much misinformation out there in our world. There's fake news. There's misinformation, disinformation, all kinds of stuff. People believe everything they read on the internet for 364 days a year. One day a year, people decide they're going to check their sources. One day a year, people all of a sudden wake up and are like, oh, I got to find out if that's true or not. Why not do that like all the other days of the year also? It would save all of us so much hassle, honestly.
It's a good point. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So that's my what bugs me. That's all I got.
Okay. So I have to talk a little bit about the Goldbergs.
Oh, gosh.
It's one of my favorite shows, and I think this is the last season. I'm not sure. We've talked about it quite a bit this year because a lot of different things have happened. So it's not one particular episode, but I think there have been, 4 episodes since the last time I mentioned it to you. And interestingly enough, remember we did our favorite 80s albums?
Yeah.
So there was one episode where the Goldbergs used Higher Love by Steve Winwood.
Nice.
Steve Winwood was in my list.
Nice.
And there was another episode where they used Overkill by Men at Work, also in
Love
my
it.
list.
Yeah.
So I was very pleased about that. Now, you know that my favorite character on the show is John Calabasas, who always
Yeah.
seems to come. He's a recurring character, and he always plays someone different.
Right.
So anyway, he was on a recent episode, and there was another character who was playing his brother, Gene Calabasas.
God, I have to go watch this.
You do, because you know who the actor was who played Gene Calabasas?
Who?
Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block.
Oh, that's great. They like to get people from the 80s to come on, right? Yeah.
Yes, well-
Although New Kids on the Block is more 90s, actually.
True. And speaking of people from the 80s, so the whole wedding episode happened where Erica and Jeff got married, which I'm surprised because I thought that was going to be like the last episode of the season.
I
But-
always assumed, as soon as there was the proposal as the season finale of the previous season, I always just assumed the wedding was going to be the season finale of this season.
That's what I thought too, but they already had the wedding episode, so I was surprised. And you know how Jeff Garland is no longer on the show.
Right.
But of course, how can you have a wedding episode without the dad there?
Right.
So
They
it was a
did
very weird episode because he's actually in the episode, but you can tell that a lot of the scenes, or if not all of them, they were taken from previous episodes.
Oh.
And when there's a scene like walking down the aisle, for example, you only see him from behind. So it's not really him. It's a stand-in that looks like him.
Wow.
Anyways.
You just give me a lot of homework because I got to go watch the last 4 episodes now.
You do. And then one other thing I'll mention about that same wedding episode, because Joey McIntyre was in an episode, Richard Marx was in that wedding episode.
Oh, I love Richard Marx. I'm a huge fan. I also follow him on Twitter, by the way.
So there you go. So a lot of good things about the Goldbergs in the last month.
That's great. I love it. The Goldbergs, it always manages to come back. I'll miss the show when it's not on.
I mean, I don't know for a fact that it hasn't been renewed. I was just assuming that this would be the last year because he's going to college. So all the kids will be gone.
It should end. It should end, right? It should be over.
One other note, not to do with the Goldbergs. I started watching a new show. And the only reason I started watching it is because I love the title of the show. And the title is The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window.
Yeah, my wife watched it.
So I've
weird,
I've only seen one episode. I don't know if I like it yet.
I think she enjoyed it. She didn't say it was amazing, but I think she enjoyed it. Yeah. It's with Kristen Bell, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, very cool. So I only have one thing to say is like, by the time people are listening to this, we're going to know if Duke beat North Carolina.
And we're also going to know if Duke won the national championship.
Yeah, so let's just keep our fingers crossed until we speak again, Josh.
Okay, have a great week and enjoy the games.